So welcome. This is the blab on is your life's purpose the key to a better world? And so we're going to have a rich discussion, and I'm very curious about your questions. So please put them here in the message box, and I'll happily answer them. And yeah, so there's a lot of reasons to find your life's purpose. Most of them are very selfish, meaning like they help you live longer, they help you have a better body, they help you have better relationships. They help you have a more fulfilling, impactful, and lucrative career. But there's also a lot of not selfish or altruistic reasons to find and live your life's purpose. So my name is Brandon Peel. I'm a purpose guide, and I coach people one-on-one, groups. I teach online courses like the Mankind Project's Man on Purpose course, the 21-Day Purpose Challenge, the P4 course. And I'm passionate about helping people find their purpose. It was one of the biggest joys of my entire life, was finding mine. And it's something I want to make possible and make available for everybody. So before we dive in, just tell you a little bit about this kind of broader global purpose movement. So planetpurpose.org is the movement around creating a purposeful planet, a purposeful culture. And we have a free 3-week curriculum called the 21-Day Purpose Challenge. It starts on Sunday, so go ahead and go to 21daypurposechallenge.org if you want to sign up right now. It's totally free. You'll do one exercise a day for 21 days in a global community of purpose challengers, purpose seekers. So let's dive in. Let's dive into what our kind of social or altruistic reasons are for finding our life's purpose. So as we mentioned, lots of selfish reasons to do it. I mean, it gives you a better body. It makes you more productive, creative, makes it 50% more likely that you're a leader, 4 times more engaged in your career. You're twice as likely to learn something during the course of the day. And it's just kind of, scientifically vetted, proven best practice to create the life you love. The thing is, when we all do it, it creates a purposeful culture. So imagine if everybody you knew, everybody in your life, was turned on with their life's purpose. It would be a vastly different experience than I imagine the one you have right now. Vastly different than the one I have right now. So if you're turned on your life's purpose, you're probably making all sorts of decisions in a purpose-aligned way. You're not going to have your purpose from 9 to 5 and then, do a bunch of cocaine and be with hookers from 5 to 12 and then wake up and then be purposeful. I mean, my gut is that you're going to start to choose all sorts of things that align with your life's purpose, your leisure activities, the types of communication you have, the types of clothes you wear. Everything is going to be more or less aligned, and there'll be a lot less kind of need for distraction and vice and sitting on the couch and kind of waiting for time to pass you by. So on the kind of soft surface level, purpose makes the world a better place in that way because we're just more engaged. It's just people around us are more interesting. They're doing creative service projects, and that sounds like a great world to live in. But there's actual science behind this. So folks have known this for a very long time. You find your life's purpose and you're going to have a good life and society is going to be great. So they've started to measure this. And in my research, because I'm writing a book on purpose coming out early summer, is that purpose touches literally not only every part of your life, but it touches every part of society. And so I found 8 key ways that purpose makes a difference for society at large. And I want to share them with you, and also to get your feedback, to hear your questions and to see if I'm missing anything, or to see if something doesn't make sense or we should look at it a different way. So very interested to hear what you have to say. So let's dive in. One of the most beautiful reasons for why purpose makes the world a better place, and especially here in America, where things are very divisive right now and have been for 5 or 10 years, is that purpose is actually a transpartisan issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's not a Republican issue. It's actually both. So when you find your life's purpose, you become altruistic. You become, more likely to help people, to care about people. So your compassion expands. So for that reason, like Democrats really love this idea because it's oh wow, if I have more compassion, I'm going to be more fair. I'm going to be more engaged in my community. I'm going to be more concerned about other people. Well, that's totally true. And Republicans love this idea too, because when you find your purpose, it's the first time you actually get to be fully self-reliant, self-sustained. You're not going out to the world to get the things you need. You're not a taker, to use kind of Republican ideology. You're actually creating. You're creating based on your purpose. So like your purpose is flowing out of you. You become independent and cause in the matter in your own life and also in society and the economy. So the first reason. So I know that kind of is a reason, but the first reason that has actual research behind it is that purpose creates a more efficient economy. So it's been proven that purpose increases employee engagement by up to 4 times. It also reduces turnover. So folks who have found their life's purpose have a 20% longer tenure. So there's less of a transition time. Meaning, like instead of keeping a job for 4 years, you're keeping it for 5 years. So there's less time, training, hiring, recruiting, and time where that position goes unfilled, and time for that new person to kind of step up. So you can think of, every time somebody leaves a job, you're losing essentially like 6 months to 18 months of that person's salary to the company because they're not contributing at a full level. So if your tenure is longer, you're staying longer, you're contributing at a higher level, and there's not that turnover piece. So one of the other beautiful pieces about this, and we're going to get to this in the next point, but purpose, because it makes you healthier, literally makes you healthier, improves the structure of your cells. A number of studies out, and by the way, you can find all this research at scienceofpurpose.org and follow along. So when folks are healthier, they also take fewer sick days. They also have a physical structure that is more conducive to being productive at work. They're not, morbidly obese. They're not, destroying their body and just kind of using work as a place to rest or to heal from, their night or weekend of, binge drinking. So there's less of a tax on companies because there are folks out there who actually care about their purpose, and they're not kind of getting sick all the time or calling in quote unquote sick when they're really hungover. So there's an efficiency boon to the economy when folks are purpose aligned. So the second reason is that there's an efficiency boon to the government and specifically the healthcare system, which is kind of a private public mashup. Hello, Riaz. Welcome. So when you find your life's purpose, you're getting sick less, and so you are not spending as much time in the hospital, not having doctor's visits. There's a great study that came out of Harvard this past year that talked about how for Americans over 50, that they actually have fewer hospital visits. But also, more preventative health screenings. So they're getting prostate exam, mammograms, pap smears, these sorts of things. But for folks over 50, they're making 32% fewer doctor's visits, and they spend 61% fewer overnights in the hospital. So folks who know their purpose aren't using healthcare, aren't using public and private healthcare benefits. And instead just kind of living their life, enjoying it, out there kind of spending their money and working hard and enjoying their retirement. They're not, holed up in a hospital waiting for a doctor to come in. So one of the things that the EU has found is that 86% of deaths in the EU, so they did a study on the whole European Union, and 77% of all disease is lifestyle related. So there are valid reasons to go to the hospital, for screenings, for acute things like you broke your foot or something like that, or for genetic things. Those are totally valid. Like, oh, well, I was living an awesome life. I went off a snowboard jump and I twisted my ankle and so I got to go to the doctor. I was doing a purpose-aligned thing, and sometimes you get hurt doing purpose-aligned things. Now, that's not the same thing as being so disconnected from your life's purpose that you're drinking and drugging and overeating and kind of sitting on the couch all the time, and having all these problems associated with a sedentary lifestyle and a bad diet. So what the net effect is that if we could imagine, if we could light up our entire species with their life's purpose, we would have theoretically far fewer deaths a year. So we'd be living longer. That produces other problems, of course, but we would have less death in the world, and there would be less disease. We'd be spending less time in hospitals and more time out in the world, enjoying ourselves, contributing to society, keeping our consumer economy going. I know that there's kind of mixed feelings about all that. So the third reason is that purpose actually creates a more tolerant world. So there's an amazing study that came out that showed that folks who have found their life's purpose have an increased tolerance for racial difference. So this is a Harvard Cornell Carleton study from 2014. So they found that people who know their life's purpose don't care as much if somebody's black or white or Hispanic or Asian or African or European or Russian or whatever it is. It's just not an area of concern. And the thinking goes is that when you have an internal source of meaning, in that you are identified with your life's purpose, you're less likely to be identified with race, less likely to be identified with nationality, with gender, with sexuality. You're less likely to be identified with the things that create racial tension and that create divisiveness. And so over time, what purpose actually creates is truly a culture of unity, a global culture where we can love each other as we are. Doesn't mean that we are proud of all of our actions, but we can still love each other. We can still see that, somebody who's in ISIS is not that different than somebody in my neighborhood or my hometown. So we can still see it. We can still see that there are human trying to get their very human needs met with less than perfect information. So it empowers like a compassion in addition to a unity, and hopefully with time there's actually a grace. We'll be able to gracefully handle our problems and not want to put people in jail or bomb them out of existence. We actually say, okay, well, what's going on here? If we presume that this is a good person, then how do we help them? How do we take their current set of behaviors and help them be more aligned with a more peaceful, sustainable, harmonious way of being in the world? So the fourth reason is learning. So research has proven that we're twice as likely to learn something new each day, and that when we know our life's purpose, and that when kids know their purpose, it becomes one of the primary drivers of their education. So a friend, colleague, William Damon at Stanford, has written prolifically on the effect of purpose as it affects our youth. And so what ends up happening is kids get turned on to purpose, and suddenly they're seeking role models. They're seeking ways to contribute. They're seeking ways to learn about the things that they love. Because as you know, if you have kids or you remember your own childhood, you're going to learn about that stuff anyways. I mean, the stuff that really turns you on, you're gonna study it. You're gonna explore it. You're gonna watch the movies. You're gonna get into the roles, and so it's going to happen. But if it happens in the context of a purpose discovery experience, and then also with the right kind of mentorship and elderhood to say, oh wow, this is your purpose. Well, why don't you study this? Why don't you take on this community project? Whatever the case may be. So the fifth reason is that because purpose liberates us from these partisan, nationalistic, gender, sexuality, religious, ageist, racial identities. So purpose has this effect of actually creating greater unity, greater tolerance. It liberates us from identifying with political parties. So it strengthens our democracy in this way because it turns our focus from, okay, well, is this consistent with the Republican Party or is this consistent with the Democratic Party? It turns our focus from that to what works. What is the best practice? Now, in America, where I live, we're blessed with a very distinct kind of original philosophy, and that's pragmatism. It's a love affair with what works. And we've abandoned that, increasingly over the last 20, 30, 40 years in favor of what is most aligned with my political belief as opposed to what works. So when we are purpose awakened, we can choose policy, politicians, forms of government based on how well they work. Now, I'm going to say something that's going to sound partisan, but it's actually not. It's actually strictly pragmatic. If you look at all the forms of government out in the world, the one that consistently delivers the greatest outcome for its citizens is a social democracy. Now, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not, I barely even identify as an independent. But now, but I am purpose aware. Now I can see that if what worked was communism or if what worked was free market capitalism, I would say, well, let's go do that. I would happily let the Koch brothers and Donald Trump run the country if they had the right model that worked. Fortunately, where this kind of free market love affair or fundamentalism or market royalism takes place, like in Kansas and Texas, it doesn't work. People actually suffer incredibly. So it's a long way of saying that we can strengthen our governance, our ability to choose policies and things that and ways of governance and leaders from a sober perspective, from a purpose awakened perspective, not necessarily which party do I like or which party don't I like. It's actually what works, what is going to be the best result for our people. So this the sixth reason, and this may seem sort of common sense, is that when you turn on with your life's purpose, you actually are in a mode of service, meaning there is no purpose that is my purpose is to stay in my room and eat Cheetos. Purpose throws you out into action. It throws you into relationship, into your career, into your community, into your family. And so it's active. It has a very strong active principle. And so folks have found, they've studied this, that when people are purpose aware, they're 50% more likely to give money to charity, 50% more likely to volunteer. So when they care about something larger than themselves, they're more likely to put that into action. So they know their purpose and they start to be a stand. So instead of staying in and watching TV at night, they go out and they go do some volunteering and they spend time with the elderly and they tutor kids and they work at soup kitchens and they pick up the environment and they create art festivals. They do these things because they're awakened. Those things aren't, or I should say they're awakened to their purpose. I mean, those things aren't considered oh, I've got to go do this. They're actually considered, wow, this fulfills me. This allows me to express my deepest purpose. So purpose also creates a more sustainable economy. When folks find their life's purpose, they start to create careers that are aligned with their values. So it's this kind of desire for integrity, this desire to be the same person all the time. And that means find and create a career that actually allows you to express your purpose. And very few people's purposes include destroying humanity or destroying the environment. So there's a kind of an emphasis on finding things that have a transcendent vision, a transcendent mission. And there's a lot of folks out there who identify as kind of voting with their purpose dollar. In the United States, 16% of the consumer population, the adult consumer population, is called LowHa, and that stands for Lifestyles of Health and Sustainability. And basically, this is a group of folks who have some sort of purpose awareness and vote with their dollars. That they go to the store and they want to know, what is the net effect of my purchase decision? So How was it produced? Was it humane? Was it fair trade? Was it is it local, organic? That sort of thing. And what this does is this creates demand for more products like this for businesses that don't take into account human welfare, that don't take into account fair trade, that don't take into account fair wages, that don't take into account organic food, or basically don't take into account the effect that chemicals have on the consumer population. It gives them the financial incentive to actually start to explore this. Say, oh wow, if I stop poisoning my customers, I'm going to sell more product. Cool, great, let's do that. So now that there's a critical mass, like I said, there's 16% of the U.S. adult population is LowHa, but it's projected that up to 50% of the European Union is LowHa. So that means buying things in concert with their values, with their kind of purpose awakened values. Now, what this also does is it creates because there's less of a need for distraction and vice and consumerism and things of that nature. There's the net effect of doing less with more, because when you're purpose awakened, your leisure activities essentially are around creation, around service. So it's not like, oh, my job is over at 5, I need to go to the mall and then distract myself until I fall asleep. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe my 9 to 5 is over, but now I get to be with my kids, or now I get to take a hike in nature, or now I get to, work on my community service project or do my art. So on the net, you're less of a consumer. You're less kind of going back to the well to say, oh, I've got to go buy all this stuff so I can forget that I don't have a connection to my purpose. So last piece. Thank you for your patience. Your last piece is abundance. So when you're turned on to your life's purpose and you create a business that flows out of that, you actually make more money. So a 2014 Nielsen study found that companies that had a transcendent vision, so a purpose, a mission statement, that for customers, when price and value are equal, they will choose the company that has a higher purpose. So they'll choose Stonyfield Farms over Dean Milk, even if it's the same product, same price. But more importantly, so basically, that creates brand loyalty, customer loyalty, repeat buyers, this sort of thing. But for folks who sell these kinds of products, they're able to charge more for it. So in the same Nielsen study, they found that 55% of consumers would actually be willing to pay more for a company that had a higher purpose, a higher vision, a mission statement. And this is an increase. So I think it's in the last 4 years, that's increased by 11%. So it used to be, I guess, 44%. So it's increased 11%. So there's a rising tide of sustainability and also profitability, really. So in the book Good to Great, I found that companies who have this transcendent vision, have this purpose, outperform the market by 15 to 1. So their stock price, their equity appreciation, outperforms the market by 15 to 1, and outperforms their competitors, so their peers in the industry, by 6 to 1. So if you want to have a stock price that grows faster than your competitors, having a purpose is the way to do it. And they found, other studies have found that folks who have a purpose, or companies that have a purpose, have a growth rate that is often 3 times higher than the other companies that do not have a transcendent purpose. So they're growing faster. So these are the kind of the core distinctions here around about how purpose makes the world a better place. These are the 8 key ways. So more efficient economy, more efficient government, creates more tolerance and unity, more learning, a culture or stronger democracy, more civic action, more sustainability, and more abundance. So if you want to find your purpose, there's every reason in the world for you to do it. It'll help you live longer. It'll give you better relationships. It'll make you more active and more of a leader in your career. But this is what gets me most excited about it, because when we do it in aggregate, we are actually transforming the planet, transforming our entire species. So join us. Like, let's do this. Let's get turned on with our life's purpose and create utopia, create the world we love. Not only the life we love, but the world we love. So I invite you to join us for the 21-day Purpose Challenge. It's a totally free, no strings attached, 3-week purpose discovery curriculum. You'll do one exercise a day for 21 days, and you'll get more deeply connected to your life's purpose, develop tools for blasting through resistance. So finding purpose is just part of it. You actually have to work with resistance. Even after you find purpose, resistance is going to keep showing up. So we're going to spend actually 6 full days on exploring how we work with resistance, how we push past resistance to keep taking purpose-aligned action. And then how you take your purpose out into the world, how you start to transform your community, your career, your love life, your relationships with your life's purpose. So go to 21daypurposechallenge.org. That's 21daypurposechallenge.org, and sign up. Sign up today. Tell your friends. There's no reason to be stingy about this. Just blast it. Facebook, Twitter, Blab, wherever, email. We want to get as many people signed up for this as possible, because it really will make the world a better place. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday for the 21-day challenge. Take care, everyone.